All right, class. This is our homework help on multi-step equations. All right, so let's do number 2. All right, first thing that we're going to do here is distributive property. So that's first. So when we distribute, we're going to distribute the negative to both terms in the parentheses. I'm going to bring down the 10. Negative times a positive is going to make this a negative 4c. Negative times a negative is going to make this a positive 7. Bring down the plus c, the equal sign, and the 5. Okay, so all I did here was distributive property. Now I'm going to combine like terms. Okay, so when I combine like terms here, the terms that I'm going to combine is negative 4c and positive 1c. So that gives us a negative 3c. Okay. I'm going to combine now positive 10 plus positive 7, which is a positive 17. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the 5. In order to get c by itself, I got to get rid of the negative 3 and the positive 17. Get rid of all numbers or terms that you add or subtract to remove. And since here this is addition, 17 is attached to c by addition. The opposite or the inverse of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 17 on both sides. When you subtract 17 here, this is gone and we're left with a negative 3c. When you subtract 17 over here, this gives you a negative 12. To get c by itself, negative 3 is attached to c by multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by this negative 3. Okay. A negative 3 divided by a negative 3 gives you a positive 1c. A negative 12 divided by a negative 3 gives you a positive 4. So your answer here is C is equal to 4. All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3. Here, first step again is distributive property. So we're going to distribute. Okay, we're going to distribute. We have two distributive properties on the same side where distributive property is illustrated. So we got 4 times 8x is 32x. 4 times a negative 1 is negative 4. Positive 3 times x is positive 3x. Positive 3 times a positive 4 is positive 12. Bring everything, bring everything else, bring everything else down. Okay? All right, let's look at the next step here. Is going to be to combine like terms. Okay? So when we combine like terms here, we're combining the 32x plus the 3x. That gives us 35x. Okay? The other pair of like terms, negative 4 plus 12. That's going to give us a positive 8. Okay? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Use fingers and toes. Bring down the equal sign. Bring down the negative 97. Okay? So now we're going to get x by itself by getting rid of 35 and the positive 8. We're going to get rid of positive 8 first. Get rid of all numbers or terms you can add or subtract. This is a is attached to x by addition. The inverse of addition is subtraction. Okay? Here, when you subtract, you got 97, a negative 97 minus the 8, which gives you a negative 105. Okay, this is gone, sorry. This is 35x. This is a negative 105. Now to get x by itself, we're going to divide because 35 is attached to x by multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 35. Okay? 35 divided by 35 gives you 1x. A negative divided by a positive gives you a negative. 105 divided by 35 is 3. So x is equal to a negative 3. Okay. All right. And I don't think that you all asked for any of the other ones on this page. I think you all were pretty good with those, which is good. I will, however, you all had a question about one that was on the other page. So I'm going to do this one. Okay. I'm going to do this one. Number 4 here. First thing is distributive property. We don't have distributive property here. Combine like terms separately on each side. I cannot combine these two terms. I cannot combine these two terms. The third step is to move the variables to the same side. I'm going to move the smaller one. So I'm going to move the 6K over here. There's a positive 6K. So to move it, I'm going to subtract 6K on both sides. When I subtract 6K, that's gone, and I'm left with negative 5 here. Bring down the equal. 9K minus 6K gives you a negative 3K. Bring down the plus 10. To get K by itself, you got to get rid of that plus 10 first. The inverse of adding 10 is to subtract 10 on both sides. So we're going to subtract 10 on both sides. Negative 5 minus 10 gives you a negative 15. Bring down the equal sign. This is gone, and we're left with the negative 3K. Okay. All right, now in order to get K by itself, the operation between negative 3 and K is multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. So you're going to divide both sides by a negative 3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 15 divided by 3 is going to give you a positive 5. Equals on this side, 1K or just K. Okay. Let's look at number 10 down here. All right. First step is distributive property. Distributive property. So we're going to distribute this 2 to both terms in the parentheses. And on this side, we're going to distribute the 3 to both terms in the parentheses. 2 times 1 is going to give you 2. 2 times a negative z is going to give you a negative 2z. Bring down the plus 5. Bring down the equal sign. We're going to distribute, which means we're going to multiply 3 times 2z. That gives you 6z. We're going to multiply 3 times a negative 1. That gives you minus 3. Okay? Now we're going to combine like terms on each side separately. On this side of the equal sign, you can combine the 2 plus 5, which gives you 7. Bring down the negative 2z. Bring down the equal sign. On this side, you cannot combine the two terms, so we're just going to bring those down. Now we're going to move the variables to the same side. I am going to move the smaller one, the negative 2z. To move a minus or a negative 2, I add 2z to both sides. When I add 2z over here, I'm just left with this 7. Bring the 7 down. On this side, when I add 2z to 6z, I get 8z. Bring down the minus 3. To get z by itself, I move the positive, I move the minus 3 by adding 3 to both sides. 7, 8, 9, 10. So we get 10 on this side, and we get 8z on this side. Before I move further, let me make sure I got this right. So distribute, good. Bring down the 5. Distribute, good. Okay? Combine like terms, these two, that's 7. Bring this down. Over here, can't combine. Move the 2z over here. That gives you 8z. All right, so it's right. Okay, so now we're going to divide both sides by the 8. And we're going to reduce the fraction by dividing both the top and the bottom by 2. That's going to give you 5/4. You can keep it as an improper fraction. You can change it to a mixed number if you like, or you can write it as a decimal. All right. Number 12. Do this one again. Okay. We got two ratios or two fractions set equal to each other. So this is really called a proportion. A proportion is an equation, and this is an equation where you have two ratios that are made equal to each other, or two fractions that are made equal to each other. So in order to solve a proportion, you use what you call cross multiplication. So we're going to multiply the 5 times the expression on the bottom and the 10 times this expression on the bottom. This is called cross multiplication. So I'm going to do 5 times this expression first. So I got 5, and it doesn't matter which, I could do this one or this one. Doesn't matter which way I go. So that's 5 times the expression x plus 3 equals, you got 10 times this expression, or 10 times x minus 2. So this is called distributive property. So we're going to distribute 5 to both numbers in the parentheses here, and 5 to both numbers or terms in the parentheses on the other side of the equal sign. 5 times x gives you 5x. 5 times 3 gives you 15. Bring down the equal. 10 times x gives you 10x. 10 times negative 2 gives you a negative 20. Okay? Combine like terms on each side separately. These terms I cannot combine. These terms I cannot combine. So now I want to move the variables to the same side. I'm going to move the smaller one. Doesn't matter which one I move. I'm just choosing to move the smaller one. This is a positive 5x. So I'm going to subtract 5x on both sides. When I subtract 5x over here, this is gone and I'm left with positive 15. Bring down the equal. When I subtract 5x over here, I get 5x. Bring down the minus 20. To get x by itself, I got to get rid of these two numbers. I'm going to get rid of the minus 20 first. The opposite of subtraction is, or the inverse of subtraction is addition. So I add 20 to get rid of the negative 20. When I add 20 to this side, this gives me 5. This gives me 3. So I get 35. Bring down the equal, okay? This is gone. This is 0, and I'm left with 5x. Okay, so here I'm going, in order to get rid of the 5, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. When I divide both sides by 5, 35 divided by 5 gives you 7. So x is equal to 7, or 7 is equal to x. Same thing. Okay, please let me know if you have more questions, okay? And I'll be happy to do more problems. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.